Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Black Jackson Estate podcast. I am user 1.5, and we've got all the users in the house today. User 1, are you there?
I'm here. I'm ready to do it.
All right. And user 2,
Shimon.
I am so excited about today's episode because this episode is all about the Michael Jackson biopic. So I just want to start by saying, listen, if you have not watched this film yet, first of all, what the fuck are you doing? But if you haven't watched this film yet and you do not want any spoilers, then you need to stop this episode right now. Go watch the film and then come back, okay? Now, if you haven't seen the film and you want spoilers, then we're your girls, okay? We are going to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever we thought about this film, okay? So buckle up, Buttercup, because we have a lot to say. So users, are you guys ready?
I
All
sure
right.
am.
So we actually, all three together as a family and with the wife, we all as a family went to see this film twice. We went first on April the 20th to a Lionsgate promo event, and then we went again on April 22nd, where we had some like pre-sale advance tickets. But obviously the film opened nationally in theaters on April the 24th, 2026. And the Michael Jackson biopic has a runtime of about 2 hours and 7 minutes. And this story, according to all involved, is told from Michael Jackson's perspective. Presumably, it is his thoughts, his feelings, and what he saw. What he saw. User 1 has her hand raised. Go ahead, user 1.
Immediately.
I mean, we didn't even get. Go ahead, user 1.
I just feel like there's been a lot of shape shifting on how the story is being told. I think this is the latest iteration because first we got this is Michael's whole life. We ain't shying away from a goddamn thing. We gonna talk about everything and anything because we want to tell his story. Now this
Right.
is told from Michael's perspective. He ain't even here. So how
Yeah.
can you be clear that did he is there some paperwork we didn't see where he said if you ever do a movie about me, here's how I'd like things to go. Was that it?
I saw John Branca post
Who?
on Branca, sorry.
The
John
thief?
the
Y'all's
stealing. The stealing
friend.
white man. I saw
Vlad.
John Branca
Yeah.
post something about it, and he said, finally a story told from Michael's perspective. And I was like, so you were the one who started that. And we all know that he thinks he's Michael Jackson.
So that maybe that's what that means.
Yeah.
Told from the perspective of the current Michael Jackson,
Uh-huh.
Who
John
is
Branca.
John Branca?
Yeah.
You know, that explains a lot, actually. That would explain a lot
It would
of what we
explain
saw
a
in this
lot.
film. But let's jump right into it. So the movie opens up with the Bad Tour, Michael backstage from the Bad Tour, 1988 Wembley Stadium, and we get a shot from behind. And then it immediately goes to 1966, Gary, Indiana, where we see the Jackson 5 rehearsing, practicing their set for to be able to go and, you know, Joe had them up in the strip clubs and whatnot. So they're practicing to become who we would know as the Jackson 5. I want to start with the cast, guys. So we have an all-star cast here. We have Jaafar Jackson, who portrayed Michael Jackson. We have an adult Michael, I should say. We have Giuliano Valdi, who played young Michael Jackson. We have Nia Long, who portrayed Catherine Jackson. Coleman Domingo, who portrayed Joseph Jackson. And Miles Teller, who portrayed John Branca. Of course, there are other supporting actors in this, but these are the core of the film. So I want to take a moment and talk with you guys about the cast. How was it cast, and how did each cast member perform in their role?
So I think Giuliano, Jafar, Coleman, and Nia walk away with performances that I kept thinking about. And so I would say those were the top performers. I think the actors that played the Jackson brothers, specifically adult Jermaine, did look like adult Jermaine. Unfortunately, Jafar also looks like adult Jermaine. So I had to unlock that in my brain a couple of times. And I think some of the other actors, like what's my man's name that plays Quincy Jones that used to be on Insecure?
I can't
Um,
remember his name, but yeah, my
he
guy.
did an excellent
Is it
job.
Kendrick? Is his
Yes,
name
Kendrick.
Kendrick? Yeah.
Kendrick did an excellent job. The gentleman who played Bill Bray was also really good.
I know him from something too. And we no disrespect. We should have had these names.
We can pull
Excellent.
those names.
We love our yellow and clear brothers.
Yes,
They
the
did
light
it.
skins really did their
The
job.
reds and the clears did their job.
They did.
So I agree. I think that so for me, the top performances in this film were from Jaafar Jackson and then from now are we talking about acting? So if we're talking about just acting, it's
So we're
Coleman.
just talking about their acting, not the words written by the
Okay.
script
No,
writers.
no,
We're
no. I
just talking about
mean,
their
there's
acting.
acting and then there's performance. So
Right.
those
So
are
we're just
different
talking about
things. Okay,
acting.
acting. Okay.
And if you, I mean, obviously, when you're talking about Jafar and Giuliano, if you want to talk about performance scenes,
Well,
that's fine.
I want to separate those two because Jafar is a performer, right? So that's I think I categorize that differently. From an acting perspective, I was most impressed by Giuliano, who I was like, this kid studied Jason Weaver. He studied he did his research and he because that first whipping he got, I felt for him. I was ready to come through the screen and whoop up on Joe in that afro he had on. So like I mean, he did such a good job. It was so convincing, and then to do it and shift between the pain on this kid to performing or the longing he was able to portray when Michael was like looking out a window and seeing other kids play. So I want to give a special shout out to that kid who clearly has the acting gene. He's able to do it. And also his counterpart, which was Coleman Domingo. Like those two together are worthy of so much praise for how they encapsulated the emotion of those characters. They had the most depth to me of character. Now, and that's saying something because you had such an all-star cast. You had Lorenz Tate, you had Nia Long, you had all these people we've already mentioned who are phenomenal actors, and we didn't get to see the depth of what they can do.
Right.
But what we did get was solid. But I think those two roles gave us the more compelling acting out of the cast.
I would agree with that. I would say no one really gave in-depth acting.
Well,
Ex
you had to have the in-depth acting
You
words
had to
on
have
the
an
paper.
in-depth
You
script.
had to have a
Exactly.
script for
And
that.
Yeah.
and that is the problem with this movie. I will say you can tell Coleman Domingo took that towel and wrung out every drop of water that was in it and
Yeah.
tried to make it into something.
Yeah.
The Nia Long scenes, she's just standing there looking longingly or sitting down. There is no depth to the Catherine Jackson character
I
with
saw somebody, they said every time they saw her, she was eating ice cream or popcorn.
yes,
You
and
know,
she
like,
was.
I mean, she looked amazing.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
she's beautiful, right? But yeah.
she did. She looked beautiful and she favors Catherine Jackson, and I think they were able to do that. But I will say one of the things I'm most frustrated with will be the lack of depth in the storyline in general. And I think we'll talk about that. But surface level, it appears that the editing is probably what removed that. I've done a little bit of reading over the last 2 days about what the original script had, and it seems like there was a little bit of more juice in there, but because we had to cut this into what is likely 2, maybe 3 films, because they're saying there were 4 hours of material that Antoine Fuqua had, I just think they cut it in a way that removed all the juice that we probably would have gotten from everybody except for Coleman, Giuliano, and Jafar.
And I want to jump in here for a minute because me and my sister were talking about this. Titanic was 4 hours long. They could have made this movie as long as they wanted it to be. People would have sat right there. And we can say that having gone twice. People would have, and I've seen
And I
videos
went 3
online.
times. I've gone
People,
3 times
you
and I
gone three
now
times.
know when to go pee. Like
Like
it's still
but
long.
I look at
Okay?
other theaters too. People were staying after just to dance and
Yeah.
enjoy the
Yeah.
music. People would have sat through a longer movie. Michael deserved a better telling of his story. The performances were great, right? So we're gonna get into all of that. But to your point, I think they're using that as an excuse, and it's also kind of insulting to the public that are hearing some of these things, right? Like, are we stupid? So we stupid. We've sat through long ass movies, baby, and we'll do it again if it's a good story. Like, we will sit there. I binged watch all of season 2 of Beef last night. Shout out to I love that on
That's
Netflix.
aggressive.
I sat through the whole thing. At first, I was like, I'm gonna be done at 6. And I was like, nah, let me just go see how this gonna end up. That's 8 30-minute, 40-minute. Like, I literally sat there, took a couple breaks, came back, blah, 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 finished it. So it's also insulting to an audience to say, oh, well, no, we gotta break this up for you. Audiences have held those sort of long movies together. There are many movies that exceed a typical runtime that people sit through, and you would expect that for this sort of film. So I think it's another hollow excuse that they've been peddling to sell to people. Oh, we need to break it. You don't need to break it up. You could have put it into one
Yeah.
film. So anyway, I
Yeah.
just wanted to throw that out there. And listen, I know everybody said, "But we love it, we love it." I'm not gonna give you that energy. I'll tell you what I loved, and I'll tell you overall the movie was a no for me.
Yeah,
But
and I mean,
get into it.
I even said I was like Gone with the Wind, and you were like, "Well, everybody doesn't know Gone with the Wind," but they have a literal intermission, okay?
Yeah,
Because in
yeah.
1938, people were not sitting in the movies for 4 hours. So they
Right.
had a literal 15-minute break where the movie stopped, you got to
Yeah.
go pee, you came back. Like, I agree. In the age of streaming, when people sit and binge watch things all day long,
All the
there
time.
is no reason, but I we've heard of the stories and we all know they had to redo the 3rd act, had to take a bunch of stuff out, had to reshoot some stuff, and maybe this is the best of what they had that they could keep,
That's what
you
I
know?
think it is, 1.5.
I think it told the story John Branco wanted to tell.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think this is a capitalist decision that
Yes,
we're looking at,
this was a
where
money
they
cut.
once they realize how much money they were spending, and if you go and look at the amount of production that they put into this, I know that that receipt got pretty long. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, I need to make my money back twofold. And we're going to chop this in half. And I guarantee you that is what drove this decision, that this is a massive budget. We want to guarantee that we get our money back. Why don't we just chop this in two? And I think from the beginning of the film, it was clear to me that they were going to make a part two. Like, they framed it from the top, like this is going to be in sections.
Mhm.
And so that is pretty clear. And if that is what the editors decided to do in post production and said that's how we'll make the through line here because they had to do so much cutting and chopping, then that makes more sense than they went into this saying we're gonna cut where we cut because it just didn't align.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
challenge that from this perspective, then I wanna hear your thoughts, user 1.5. I think it is as nefarious as I am suggesting by the tone of how I talk about this. I don't think they ever intended, and if you are not a listener of the Black Jackson Estate podcast, please start listening to the Black Jackson Estate podcast and then join our Patreon. We've been talking about this since it came to conceptualize, and basically everything we said then has kind of been affirmed now. I don't think they ever really wanted to talk about the allegations. I think they told you they did. And if that was true, you would have found a way to do it. You know, you wouldn't have said halfway through, we need to reshoot and do $10 million more of reshoots. Like, I think that there was some deception on behalf of the estate to those who agreed to come on, and they deceived them so they would agree to come on. Because if you tell them we're not going to get into that, serious people are not going to involve themselves because they don't want to be involved in something that's going to be whitewashed.
Mm.
So I think there was deception. I think then they tried to blame it on, oh, we didn't know, which does not make sense. These people get paid millions of dollars a year to know what's going on with Michael Jackson, his life, his legal issues, etc. So then to say we didn't know, I don't buy it. And this is all coming from someone who has been challenged from the beginning about the authenticity of him to be the executor of the estate. So there's I don't think that this was just good faith. Oops, XYZ. I think it was very much so intentional. I think they don't want to talk about it because I've seen the musical as well multiple times. And the way they skirted through that, they did not want to deal with that. That is not, and that was a part of the criticism there. So I know they don't want to talk about this because to talk about it, even in the best light to Michael, there will be things that people are not happy about and comfortable with from him as a grown man and his relationship with children. So I think it was always going to be what you got. I don't think there will be another. I think they're telling you there will be another. But then I hear Coleman Domingo in his interviews and he's not committing to that. So if y'all have 4 hours of footage, why isn't there a clear, yeah, there will be a part two? He in his interviews is not even saying that.
Yeah, and
Wh
I think
so
Jafar in his interview said something about like, "Oh, it's in the early stages." But this is something again, join our Patreon. This is
yeah.
something that we talked about before when we realized when we were told that they had to reshoot the film and do this and the whole third act had to be scrapped and blah blah blah. We said this. We were like, this there's not going to be anything now that's going to even remotely touch the allegation. So what makes this film interesting to see? Because otherwise there's nothing new, like, as my grandma used to say, "There's nothing new under the sun." We already know all this stuff, and I wanna, like, slide in from there into just the pacing of the film, right? So the film begins, like I said, 1966, right? After we get this shot from the bad tour, we get 1966. The boys are already in a group. They're already singing, and we have skipped what I think is the catalyst of all of this, which is Tito breaking that guitar string, right?
Right.
We've
And then they had
skipped
the nerve
all
to
of it.
put R.I.P. Tito at the end of the films dedicated to Tito and completely erased Tito
Being the
as
reason as
the
there's
founding
a group, yeah,
member.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we have completely skipped that, and then the film is paced like you're running a fucking marathon, okay? It's so quick, in my
Mhm.
opinion. You almost don't know where you are in time
Mhm.
because it jumps from here to there to there to there, and you're like, "What what are we doing?" What did you guys feel about the pacing of the film? Do you feel that it was paced appropriately for a 2-hour movie?
No.
Or do you or do you
Mm-mm.
feel like we kinda rushed through some things and assumed maybe we're assuming that the audience knows this information, and so we didn't give it what do you guys think about the pacing of the film?
So the first time we saw it, the pacing confused me because on top of the fact that it was moving so quickly, they were having them sing songs that they hadn't yet recorded. And so I was trying to ascertain like are we actually before they recorded it? Is this after? Like what is the context there? And that's when I realized, oh, I was too deep in my fan bag. Now, what I did observe, I would say the second time we went and Durham was in the building, which for those not familiar with North Carolina, Durham is a very black city. And so there were Negroes in there who were giving real cultural feedback. And what I perceived from the room is, why did they do that? Like there were certain things that if you were alive during that period, it just didn't make sense.
What
Yeah.
can you think of
Uh,
something off the top of your head?
the example that I'm thinking about is Never Can Say Goodbye. Why in the
Mm,
world were they singing that before they even got discovered? Now,
Yeah.
yes, Never Can Say Goodbye was written years prior and had been, I think, offered up to the Supremes before the brothers got to it. But still, like that version, that music production was confusing for people. What I think they did in that first act well was articulate the stakes that Michael was under, which I think was the underlying theme for the whole thing. The pressure that Michael felt throughout the film is palpable. And so they were able to convey that. They did do some cleanup, which I appreciated in the Jackson 5 founding narrative, where they did put Gladys Knight and the Pips in the storyline instead of Diana
I
Ross,
love
which
that.
is historically accurate to an
Yeah,
extent. It didn't go exactly like the way they showed it,
of
but
course.
that was better, right?
They
And
actually gave the credit to Suzanne to pass if we're gonna,
yes,
if we're gonna
yes.
be honest.
And I'm so glad you said that, friend, because Suzanne was a character we could have went deeper on. Like she taught Michael so much, and was there to coach him for so long. And I'm like, why are the women just passive characters in this story? Yes, it's about Michael, but the insight, feedback, spirit that they poured into those boys was completely absent, and they were kind of just pieces that they moved around on the board. So that felt disjointed and like a misstep.
Yeah.
I'll say this, like going back to the pacing, it was very fast paced. And that was, intentional. Because I think they wanted to hit certain highlights of Michael's life, so you had to move quickly. If you want to do Thriller and Beat It and Human Nature, that's three right there from Thriller that you want to do these extended performances on. And you want to do a performance shot from Triumph, and you want to do Bad, and you want to do and you want to do something from J5, which I think they did do well. You have to move quickly because probably half of the film is performance. and then half of it is these vignettes. Is really
Mhm.
kind of how I kind of looked at it, of
Yeah.
dialogue and interaction. So you can absolutely go to sleep and wake up. Everybody knows this general Michael Jackson story. You'll stay on track. So the pacing was pretty
Now
frantic.
you can go to sleep and wake up.
Yeah, you'll be good.
Now you can
Yeah,
take a nap.
yeah, you could
You
take a
know what
nap.
you helped me realize just now, user one? I went and opened the soundtrack. And if you just look at the music, the 13 songs that are featured, that's 58 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's half the movie. So, I mean, quite literally, and that's what they were banking on. So my perspective is the pacing had to fit the goal, which is to remind people that you really love this guy's music,
Yeah.
that you really love the thing he was selling to people, which is that I am this very meek and mild, and I just want to sing my music, like what's face said
I
on
just wanna
Martin.
sing my song, ma'am.
I just want to sing my song. So if that's the story you want to tell, then
Yeah.
this work. So it serves the goal, and it serves the goal. The pacing serves the goal, which actually kind of proves the point of what Paris Jackson was saying is, if you just want this lollipop, gumdrop thing, and you don't necessarily want an accurate portrayal of this man and his life, then you're going to love
You're gonna
this.
love
And
it.
I think the pacing proves that, because if you see the feedback from people, they loved it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So because you got to relive something, the pacing supported that nostalgia feel. So
Yeah.
for the money, and Paris said that for money purposes, she said this is a money thing. It works 100%. So bravo and bravo to whomever, John and them, that decided we have to stay in this vein. And again, if you look at the musical, it does the same thing. It stays in the strong performance, and I've seen some musical, but it stays in the strong performance lane and does not give you a lot of depth. But actually, I think the musical might have given you a little more depth than this actual biopic, because they did kind
But
of
that's
get
because
into
there's an
things.
intermission, like user
Yeah, there was an
1.5 was
intermission.
Well,
saying.
Yeah.
and also with the
And
musical,
nobody
you
left. So let
did
me be clear. Nobody left in the intermission,
and
right?
you get more of Michael's in the musical, you get more of what are perceived to be his inner thoughts, what he felt, what he was thinking. You don't get too much of that in this film, if we're gonna be honest. I mean, nothing substantial, but let's kind of segue from there into what I had a problem with, okay?
What's your biggest problem, friend?
The Quincy Jones problem,
Let's talk
okay?
about it. I got some research
Quincy
for you. Let's unpack.
Listen, Quincy just showed the fuck up one day, okay? And forget the part where, he's talking to Michael's talking to the execs and he wants to have a new record and they're like, he's like, Quincy Jones is gonna produce it. They're like, great. That's not how that went. But let's just take creative license. Let's just say they loved Quincy being the producer of this uh of Off the Wall.
Mhm.
Where the fuck did he come from? How
Where
did
did
they
he come
meet?
from?
How did we get here? Like, there's no reference to, I mean, The Wiz is completely left out, which is fine.
Mhm.
Which is fine.
It's not
Okay.
fine.
Okay. That's personally one of my faves. Okay.
Correct.
But how did we get here? And then Quincy just kind of floats in and out from that point on. And he's not the only character. So I want to know what you guys think about the Quincy problem, but also I want to know what you guys think about missing characters and missing people in this story. And who do you feel should have been included and was not?
Well, here's what I'll say. Um, the streets are saying that they had to cut everything Diana Ross related, and that's from Kat Graham, who was casted to play Diana Ross.
What Miss Ross said? Miss Ross said, "Take me out, pull my parts out."
So allegedly, legal counsel said pull all her stuff. So
Diana, girl, come up. Listen,
Mhm.
we trying to talk to you anyway because I have some questions about some other things.
Yes.
But girl, come on the show and tell us why you told them to pull your parts out.
Come on the show, Miss Ross. So I think we see two things happen with missing characters and characters who have truncated storylines. I think you have characters who up front said, I'm not getting involved. Janet, Reedy, Randy. Don't mention me. Don't put me in there. I don't want nothing
They
to do
didn't
with
exist,
it.
honey.
And to be fair, it's so many damn Jackson children that halfway
You
through
did
you kind
notice.
of forget. Like,
Well, I thought was unfair. Michael's first collaborators were his siblings. They
Yeah,
helped. If you look at Off the
yes.
Wall, they were so instrumental in helping him. Janet was. Who did he
Yes.
say? Turn down in my I can't hear. Who was that? Janet. He was talking to Janet or
Janet
Randy.
and Randy.
They were
Yeah.
helping him. So it also minimizes it makes him seem like he was just out here doing it without the influence of his family. That's not true. And and people get into the whole, well, it's not a family movie, but his family absolutely. Well, y'all made it a Joe movie, so clearly it is a family movie because you made it a Joe is the big bad nigga movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, so clearly it is. But like, you don't get this artist without his family and without their influence and their talent. Randy, a big collaborator. Jackie, a big collaborator. Janet, a big collaborator. As a
LaToya.
kid, Latoya, like, y'all are wild to leave out their impact and then minimize them to these background shoo whoop doodly dot fuckers. Like, it's actually disrespectful. I wouldn't want to be involved neither because I don't trust the people behind it. That was Janet said from the jump she didn't want to do with it. So that because she didn't trust the people behind it. But yeah, Quincy Jones was absolutely. Ashley said these characters were truncated. Every character was truncated. But let's talk
Yeah.
about it's levels to it. Who got the worst of the worst?
Yeah.
Quincy Jones did not get his due respect, but my guy did play a good. He looked. I was like, dang, you light skinned and kind of look like him. Whoever
Yep.
did hair and makeup and all this other stuff
Yeah.
is
Good
on
job.
it. Okay, let me
Now
be clear.
they should get an Oscar
They need to get an
nomination.
Oscar because I was like, you like that
Absolutely.
dude.
Yep.
Like, and so
Wardrobe and
like
makeup did a good
they
job.
did a great job. His character, absolutely. I don't think I needed this big thing. I think that they probably did shoot something about the Wiz, and I want to like, I know you got your. I'm gonna let you cook, but I know you got your lines and everything. Using 1.5, but what is the level of negligence that we can give the estate for not getting Diana Ross is okay, not
Yeah.
knowing about Jordan Chandler? You got to do all
Yeah.
these. So Paris being in court suing them for not knowing what the fuck they were doing and wasting her money starts to seem more and more plausible.
Yeah.
Because why is Diana Ross not being depicted in the movie
Right.
when she was depicted in American Dream? So that's kind of
And she
my
also,
comparison point. Like, who was in American Dream bad and then not
according
in here?
to Kat, she was hired, learned her lines,
Girl.
shot the movie.
And y'all
Yeah,
gonna
that's
disrespect
So
that lady like that?
what
Not let her scenes
happened?
in.
And and here's the thing, and I said this, I think I said this to you. I was like, like the scene with Patti LaBelle, that was a fun scene. I'm so glad that they
What
included
scene
Miss
with
Patty.
Patti LaBelle?
No, I'm sorry, not Patty, but oh Jesus. Oh, Miss
I just
Patty
said
must be
Miss
talking about
Patty
me.
with that
I'm
drug.
talking
We
about
did not go to the bathroom.
Gladys Knight. I'm so sorry. Miss Patty
Okay.
must be talking about me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gladys
Still
Knight.
The
think she
scene,
need that new set.
the
I love
scene with
her.
Gladys Knight, I loved, but like
Mm-mm.
I think I told you the one that's on the way home from the first showing. They didn't even run with the lie that Motown told, which is that Diana Ross discovered them. So I was like, where the hell is Diane? Now, obviously, now we know Miss Cat said, listen, I showed up to work, I did my job. They told me they didn't need me no more. They sent me home. But like yeah. What's the negligence
What
here?
level of
What did
negligence?
y'all do?
And
John, what did you do
John,
that Diane Ross said, I don't need this check?
I think
because
you know.
she wasn't even there at the premiere. Smokey was there. Diana Ross,
yeah,
Smokey gonna
Smokey-
show up now.
Smokey
Now
was
the
the
Smokey was
publicity.
gonna show up regardless.
what's the
So
name
this
of the
is what I've
first J5
observed.
album? What's the first J5 album
Yeah,
name?
Diana Ross presents.
Diana Ross presents. Yeah, they
So,
skipped right over.
to not have her in the film is wild, crazy business, y'all. And to not, I mean, and I don't mean we didn't need to go through the Supremes. We didn't even need to do a recreation of Reach Out and Touch. We didn't even need to do that, okay? To not have her character just sit there and look
Reach Out and
cute for
Touch. I
30
can't.
seconds is wild. Y'all see John does black magic.
John did it this
John
time,
does
didn't he?
black magic.
John
I don't
has
know
enemies.
I don't know
John
who he
has
found.
to the occult.
Yeah, I don't know who he found to teach him. I don't know who he found, but he's into some dark shit because he really put a spell on this shit. He put some mojo. He got a mojo bag or something, y'all. I don't know what it is.
I got a theory.
Okay.
Okay, so my theory is we've got a line in the sand right now. And that line in the sand is you either hate the estate or you don't. Okay? When it comes to a project like this, if you're not in the hate the estate bag, then you don't get to go have fun. You don't get to be in the...
Or let me add a wrinkle to that, or don't even know about all of that, which is the general public. They don't know about those problems. So you don't even have a context to understand the potential issues, right? Because you're just the general public fans, which is the general public. They don't know about all of that. They don't. You know,
That's
so
inside baseball.
So there are three buckets you could fall into. You hate them, you don't hate them, you don't know what the fuck going on with all that drama.
That's actually true. Now, there's an article I read from a journalist named Matthew Belloni. The name of this article is
What's his last name?
Belloni.
And you want us to believe this guy?
Listen, yeah,
He's full
he
of baloney.
the article the article's
We're
called
sorry, Matthew. Matthew, that won't
Yuck,
nothing
yuck,
against you,
yuck, yuck,
baby. This is
yuck.
a
It was
joke. Ha
it was a
ha.
joke. It was a joke.
LOVE. Go ahead.
The article's called "The Michael Jackson Movie Wants You to Change Your Mind," and he wrote this article in March of 2024. And it's a very long article about how he was involved in the process. So essentially, they wanted to start with a documentary, and the Leaving Neverland lawsuit was happening around the same time they're creating this script. And the journalist talks about how he wrote for Rolling Stone and The Hollywood Reporter, and he was one of the people that they used to help verify sources as they got ready to pull source material that they could reference. And he said he saw the original script, and the original script came in incredibly hot and started with Michael Jackson being strip searched at Neverland. And so going back to user one's theory that they wrote a script that was bait to get people who were really interested in telling that story in depth, including Jafar, and wanted to do some image correction in that. And then as soon as it got to the attorneys, which is crazy because John Branca is an attorney,
Is he?
how allegedly Howard Weitzman was still alive when this was being developed, Michael's attorney for years. And Howard Weitzman was the one who said, no offense. The quote was, "Be careful. I love you, but I'll sue the shit out of you if you bring up those allegations," because there is a very hardcore agreement that they cannot talk about it, of course, in certain ways. And so I think the original script made an attempt to slide something that was legally permissible, and Michael's actual attorneys that are not John Branca said absolutely the fuck no. And that's Howard Weitzman from the grave that has really
Because that's what we
determined.
need. We need lion ass Howard from the grave too.
Well,
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll say this
OJ's
too.
attorney.
I'll say
Yes,
this too. Now we got to be careful about the allegations because there are multiple
there are
allegations.
multiple. Correct.
So everyone kind of, and I think that's also a part of the thing. We're harping on Jordan Chandler. We didn't even need to bring that boy up if we didn't really want to. We could have did something that would have been permissible to talk about 93. We could have made it super amorphous, but everybody would have known. You don't have to mention his name. You can have played Michael's video before folks was going live. Michael went live in 93 talking about these horrendous
Including
things.
my penis,
They had me
Via
my
satellite
buttocks,
from
they
Neverland.
had me spread my
and any
cheeks.
other
They
areas.
did everything they wanted to me, and it was horrendous. Y'all could have did that, and then you could have skipped forward because there's a trial not related to 93 for a whole different accuser. What's stopping you from talking about that public trial? There's no settlement there. There was no
They
agreement to be quiet.
didn't
So
want to.
they didn't want to do it. Like they didn't
Okay.
want to talk about it. And listen, I just tell me, like I said, there's an insult to the public's intelligence, and I think that's some of what Paris was trying to say, but it didn't come out good when she said
Well,
it.
you know who was
She,
supposed to do that though? That was supposed to be Taj and his project.
yeah, and I was gonna say that too. That
Come
no
on now.
documentary because they would have really been stepping on Taj Jackson, who is Michael's nephew, who was in the wheel, who has said, I want to do this specific project and talk about how my uncle has been railroaded and treated and to give the truth about him. So you also
Rewriting
did
history,
have
yeah.
in there, at least from
Yeah.
what we know, you have these potentially competing projects. So, I mean, of course the estate would have went out, but maybe they said, you know what, Taj is running down this lane. We're going to do a movie instead. We don't want to give you Leaving Neverland vibes either. So maybe we could just go a whole different direction and go cinematic.
Can I ask
Yeah.
y'all to help me solve something? I just want to share this with y'all, and we can this is important lore, I think, for the podcast.
Okay.
So this is what the gentleman says in the article. He says in 2019, sometime after Weitzman had filed a $100 million lawsuit against HBO over Leaving Neverland, I was approached in my capacity as the Hollywood Reporter to partner with a major filmmaker on a Jackson documentary series. The filmmaker wanted to use the Hollywood Reporter and Billboard articles and talking head experts in the series and possibly even snippets of Jackson's big hits. He knew that music was a long shot considering the estate would need to approve, but he also knew I had good relationships with both Howard and Ziffrin Brittingham law firm, home of music lawyer John Branca, one of Michael's executors, and except for brief periods of estrangement, perhaps his fiercest defender in both life and death. So my question is this article talking about Taj's documentary series? Because he just says the filmmaker. Or did the estate try to do a competing documentary series that stepped on Taj?
I don't think the state would ever touch that with a 10-foot pole. I don't think that is not good for business. It's just not.
So you think they're talking about
They
Taj?
would rather pay people off
So then you
than
think they're
deal
talking
with
about
this.
Taj?
I don't know that we're talking about Taj either because I don't know.
I mean,
You
I
know,
will say this,
That's
and
my question.
so Mr. Baloney, I'll say about this about Mr.
you got
Baloney's
30
article.
seconds and then we're gonna move on. Okay, talk about baloney.
It
And
just
we're
Imma
sorry,
tell
sir.
you
We're sorry, sir.
what I took a problem with. He said John Brank was probably Michael Jackson's most fierce defender, notwithstanding these estrangement periods, right, in life and death. When
Not
John
estrangement.
got fired, I didn't never see him say nothing in Michael's defense.
I
Only when he
agree.
was on payroll and being
Mhm.
paid to do that did he do that. So to make him this staunch defender in life and death it needs to have an asterisk that says
I
when he was
agree.
being paid to do so, which at that point it's your job. So I never saw John Branca. All the while, the way they have done Raymond Bain in this whole time since Michael's been died, she
Ooh,
still gets on TV and defends that man. And she don't
talk
call
about
him
that.
Michael like John does. She calls him Mr. Jackson because
Mhm.
that was her boss. So let me tell, and I know, and her friend, and because I saw her fixing his hair and his makeup and his clothes on the red carpet. And I want to add an asterisk. We are competent to give this testimony today as Michael Jackson fans for a minute, okay? Way before he died. Way before he died. But I'm looking at what I saw in John Branca and what I see when I look at someone like Raymond Bain, and I don't get the same vibe of defending this guy under any circumstances. John does it when he's being paid to do it. So, but anyway, I just want to give that for Mr. Baloney's
Well,
point because I felt it was a
that's
little
baloney's
baloney there
that's
as
his
well.
opinion,
Rah,
and
rah,
we
rah.
respect you, sir, Mr. Baloney. Let's jump back into this film, okay? I wanted
Needs a break. I need a break. I'm getting hot.
You
I'm
got
getting
yourself
hot.
hot.
You
You got
right.
yourself hot,
Go ahead.
okay? You take a moment, okay? I wanna get back into this film, and I want to talk about, some of the other, my other issues besides the Quincy issue, and it's kinda goes back to the beginning of the film, but it all adds in with Joe's portrayal and Coleman Domingo and how Joe Jackson was portrayed in this film.
Mhm.
But I just wanna say, and I wanna get your thoughts on this before we go into Joe's, God, they beat Joe down like a damn dog. The thing I was talking to one of my clients the day after I saw it, and she's a boomer. She remembers she was born in '63, so J5 was her era. And I was talking to her about how I didn't like that we kind of glossed over how big of a deal the Jackson 5 were in young Black America, especially in the '60s and '70s. And, they did show, I think they were singing I Want You Back. I think they did show that that went to number 1, but we didn't mention that their four singles in a row went to number 1, that they were, I mean, global superstars and that people wanted to be them, be like them, be married to them all over the world, and that their primary audience, because they were a Motown act, their primary, not constituents, their primary fans were Black people in America. And I feel like we didn't give the Jackson 5 the credit that they deserved for
Mhm.
what they did as young Black boys from Gary, Indiana. As Joe said, you wanna be in a steel mill all your life? Because I sure the hell don't.
No,
Like, I don't
sir.
think we gave them enough flowers in
No,
the beginning
I
of
would
the
agree.
film.
Like, there's literally a name for it. It's called at the time, and it's still called that now, being a crossover artist. It was big time a
Mhm.
deal back then. The J5 were a crossover. They represented something very unique that had never really happened in American pop music with a bunch of Black kids. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, you got to go back to like the Mills brothers, maybe the Nicholas brothers, but those are also very different scenarios. But this was different, and I agree. They did not give the weight of that moment. And yes, that's the J5 story, but it's also Michael's story because he's a part of the J5.
Yeah.
So everybody
Yeah.
coming at that
Yeah.
angle, like, is he not
That's
a
so
part of the group?
dumb.
So
Yeah.
like, but I absolutely think they skipped over that, and they kind of did a disrespect to that J5 generation. Which, if you looked at the crowds, how they made the makeup of the crowds during that time, they made them
Yes.
a mixed crowd. That is
Yes.
not historically accurate. There weren't white people there. If you look at the J5 tours, their concert footage, you will not see white kids there. If I'm not saying there's none, but there's so few It's like Finding Waldo. It is a Black audience. It is Black America, and that is a direct result of American race. The reason is the why, right? And the Jacksons didn't really cross over in their audience. It was not Triumph. So having a mixed
Right.
audience there is also incorrect. You have to go to Victory. Now
Yeah.
you can say
Yeah.
that. And then by the time you get to Bad, he has a majority white audience, right?
Yeah.
So going to London and doing that scene and the AI there, that's actually the most on point for the crowd. Like, but it was still mixed, right? But it turns into this mostly white audience. So there were things that were inaccurate that didn't need to be. And I
Yeah.
think even when I think about it takes me back to the book of Paris Jackson, chapter 1. Y'all lying.
Come on,
And
Paris
you lying
Catherine.
for no reason. You didn't
You
even
lying for
need
no
to tell
reason.
that lie. Now
But where
you
do y'all have
just
come full circle with Paris this time? And Paris was right
now
this
we
time.
just
She's
lying
right.
for no real reason.
The
We
girl
just
is
doing it because
actually
we
right.
can. Like, I mean, wow. I mean, it's kind of
Think there's a through line there, friend. So what I noticed, there's themes that they keep doing, right? So like they keep bringing animals in to show like how over time he got more and more animals, right? They do this comparison of crowds. So the first crowd is when they're in the club and they start throwing nickels.
now
And
that's a black crowd. They made
now
sure that one was black.
that was the black crowd, right? When they
Yeah,
zoom out,
yeah.
when they zoom out, you can see that. Then the next comparison is when they perform at somebody's state fair and they zoom out. And that one's felt like it was a twofold comparison. One, it's showing, okay, they were able to pack a fairgrounds by that point. And then two, it looked just like the setup at Neverland. So I think they were alluding to he performed at the fair, but wasn't able to participate in the fair. Eventually, he's going to have this fair in his backyard. So,
I don't think they thought that hard, but I love what you try to do there. I see what you try to do.
well,
I
let
don't
me
think
see.
that was
Well, let me say this. This is why I think that if this was a 4-hour film, it would have made more sense. That comparison would have made more sense. But because they cut so much content out, it doesn't give you that frame. But I do think Antoine Fuqua said, and let's zoom out to make sure we catch the Ferris wheel, because they wanted to do that. They did not artistically get that nuance. Then the next thing you see is after the fairgrounds, I don't remember what the next big crowd was, but I'm pretty sure like it was Michael, right? And so they skip.
I think the next big crowd was him standing under Yetnikov's
No, they
office.
did. No,
out,
Was that
outside
it?
of Black Rock
I think
Studios
they
in New
did
York.
2 J5 performance scenes, notwithstanding the club. The club. I think there were 2 scenes, but because one was
They did the
Never
one
Can Say
season in the
Goodbye.
past discovered them.
Right. So that's the Apollo. That was the Apollo Theater.
Mhm.
So
I'm assuming it was
that
supposed to be
was
the
a
Apollo,
black
yeah.
crowd. Thank you for not making the Apollo Theater half white in 1967, 8.
8.
So thank you for not doing that bullshit. But like, yeah, I think there were a couple of J5 performance scenes. Now I agree. I don't know that they went that deep, Ashley, but I'm gonna put a pin in that, and I'll come back around. They might have, It's such a candy corn,
Right.
film that it's hard to even like say where's the depth of maybe like the Easter eggs in it,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't give that.
Yeah,
But
this is not a Beyonce moment. You're not gonna find all the clues in Lemonade, baby. That's not what's
Here's
happening
what I'm
here.
gonna say. I'm gonna give Antoine Fuqua more credit, and I'm gonna say, give us the director's cut so we can
you
definitively
ain't
You will
getting
say.
never
that. You
get
will
that,
never
baby.
get that,
You will
hun.
never get
You need to
that.
go
I'm so
Do you
find.
sorry.
think we'll get it before we die?
We know.
No.
We need to find them people that took Brad's stuff and ran out in that alleyway, and we
They
need to
jumped out of
get
that
them
window that
on
time.
it. We need to get them on it.
If we get that
They need to go
person-
get the full footage.
That person and whoever stole Beyonce's hard drive, link up.
We need y'all.
Yeah.
Because clearly y'all got skills.
Yeah.
We need
And don't get caught
We
this
need
time,
everything.
Brad man. Didn't they catch that man that stole
I
the bread?
thought they caught him.
They caught him. Don't get caught
Run
though.
fast or have a car ready.
You know?
Yeah, put
You know
a
what I
ski
mean? Like,
mask on. What you doing?
yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
figure it out. But we'll never get, like, I agree, like a director's cut would be great. We're never gonna get it. And it's not the correct film for a director's cut. I don't know that it's gonna help anything.
Yeah.
And then there's the rumor that Antoine, they called him Van Quan, because in the last year of production, he sat in the van and directed from the van because he was not happy.
He wasn't
with
happy.
anything. That's
And-
just the rumor.
Well, and it's
I
not what
believe
he
that.
signed up for.
Because they said it's not what he signed up for.
He signed up for a different film. I remember the very first time he was talking about it, he was like, "This is going to be in depth. We are going to get to the stuff that
and
y'all
now
wanna
you
know
make him
about."
look like a liar.
And that's not what we got. But
Yeah.
let's talk about what we did go in depth with, and
Mhm.
that is Joe's meanness. Okay,
Ogre.
let's take 5 minutes, guys, and talk about Coleman Domingo's portrayal of Joe and also, what I presume to be John Branca's perception of Joe. And I just wanna start by saying Coleman Domingo did a phenomenal job, okay? Despite whatever the words are he had to speak out of his mouth, they did a great job, hair and makeup, they had them eyes as green as they needed to be. He got the gait down, the speech down, even the way he called him Michael, was perfect. I loved his performance. He made this film because for every protagonist, you need an antagonist mean as a fucking rattlesnake. And that's what we got in his portrayal of Joe Jackson. So shouts out to Coleman Domingo. You did a
Yes.
phenomenal job, sir. But let's talk about the content of this. And I think my sister leaned over one time and said, Norman just kept whipping us and whipping us. I said, good God, they won't let Joe have he couldn't get 2 seconds to breathe. What did y'all think about how he was portrayed in this film?
Actually, let me say this because then I want you to go, but I want to add this to the analysis of this because I think Joe is accurately portrayed but unfairly maligned as the only enemy here.
That's a good
I
summary.
think they got him right. Okay. But they also didn't get him right because they made you feel that the only way he viewed his kids was as these cash cows. And do I think he
Yeah,
thought that? Yes, but do I think that's it? No, because what I know is Joe Jackson was working at the steel mill, which was a hellish job. You could only do the things they would let black people do in the steel mills, which would be the worst of the worst job. He wanted an executive suite,
I
y'all.
didn't even think about that.
You know, he
Ugh.
was so we did the dirty work in these space. We did the worst of the worst work. He did that from the first scene. The one thing I noticed when he came back one day and came home, they had him at the front door, and he just his head just
yeah.
immediately dropped. Every black person knows your mama, your daddy, your grandma, them.
Hell, my
That is
ass,
how they come.
sometimes I get to this front door, I'm
Shit, I
like,
feel like
"Whew,
that sometimes. Right. So
look, that's
like
when I'm about to go into work, I hang my head."
but I did like that, and he gave it so. I was like, in this, he deserved more, and that's a whole nother thing. But I also wanted to say this: so there was no depth of Joe because this is a guy who did sacrifice. He took what little money they were paying him, and we're not talking just a low paying job. We're not talking about the tax you pay and get paid less because you're a black man. So
Right.
you're getting cheated here, that, and then what he said in Michael's own book, he said we knew when Joe had lost a job because we would eat this we eat potatoes or whatever he said all the time.
Potatoes
Like,
and
and so
beans.
this man worked really hard for his family. He went and bought them instruments with money he really did not have, but he still showed up every day to work. He still practiced them at night. He clearly loved his family and he wanted more for them. And I think not showing even, you could have traded one beaten scene to expand on this man being a man who, for all his flaws, did care about his family and what they could do. And he pushed what he saw they could become. And I just thought that was super unfair. Y'all couldn't give him that. That's 3 minutes to run that out.
They couldn't even give him that at the hospital when Michael got in that burn
Sure
scene.
didn't.
I said,
Who
"Good."
they ate
At
him up.
least in the American Dream, Jermaine had Joe saying like, "That's my son." You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
I said, "My God, y'all can't even do that for this man.
Let
Y'all
me
got
ask
that
y'all this.
man looking like the damn devil."
Let me ask
It
y'all
was
this. Do y-
complete opposite. Yeah, I
do
forgot about
y'all think
that.
they did that because for American Dream, Joe was alive, and then for this he wasn't? Do you think that they made it worse because now he can't object, that he can't do a lot?
Mm-mm.
Do you think that that changed things, like him being here versus not being here, and how they were going to portray him? Because he
I don't.
definitely had more depth in American Dream, and you got to see more well rounded.
This is just my opinion. I don't think it changed things, whether he was dead or alive. I think that in American Dream, because Jermaine was the one in charge, I think he got to see the background stuff that we didn't get to see. Yes,
And
they got
Michael
beatings.
too.
Yes, they
Michael
got
got
that.
the got them
Right.
daily too.
But I think that he also knew Joseph loved them in his own way. You know what I mean? Because if he didn't, he would have let them, he wouldn't have had them moving them damn bricks, which we should have added that scene in this movie.
Y'all
Get them moving them fucking
special
bricks.
Right.
in your own, because all the boys talked about that. He kept us out of the streets. We didn't
Yep,
get
he
mixed
kept
up
them
in
out
no
of the
gangs.
streets. He
We
didn't
didn't get
want
in
them to
we
be
didn't get
in
into
a
the
steel
crazy.
mill. He didn't want them to have a dead-end job. He wanted them to be successful, and that's love. It might not be he
It
might not
don't
have been able to
right.
show it the way that they would have liked, but I think about, like, in Latoya's, TV show, Life with Latoya. Remember they was at that campfire and she was like, "Can I
Yeah.
call you daddy?" He was like, "Yeah, you want to." Like, I just think
And
think that
Latoya was a smooth 45
She was
years
50
old
years old.
grown-ass
She was
person.
50 years old.
she had to talk herself up to asking him if she could call him daddy instead of Joe. I just think he ruled with an iron fist because that's all he knew. And that's how he knew to keep all 50 of them in line and to also keep himself sane
When you live
or
in
as
a
sane as possible.
when you live in a world that treats you less than at every turn, the moment you step outside of your house in 1960 America as a black man, you are a boy. You are not being treated fairly. You are being treated the worst of the worst. You're also in live and live in color, real time, watching people be brutalized and nothing happen. You are being infantilized. You are not being paid well. You are being shat on at every corner. When you treat people like that, they normally, because they're traumatized now, take it out somewhere a lot of times. They do. It's human nature. People do that now when they get in their little road rage and shoot up the whole highway. Everybody can get it. You just shooting out the window like a
Girl, that's only in
psychopath.
America. It's
But
really
my thing
ghetto
is,
here
like, the
sometimes.
fact that
Go
he
ahead.
then turned around and inflicted that on his home life because that's the only place where he had this outlet, it doesn't make it right. But it also makes it really understandable in the larger context, which is why it's so unfair to minimize him to this one-dimensional demon. Because you have
Taskmaster.
to ignore a whole lot to do that.
Yeah, yeah. User 2, what well, I think she had to step away.
She had to
Okay.
run off. I
I
think I
think I'm
better run.
gonna run.
See what the end gonna be. Oprah!
God.
Oprah!
Niggas.
User 2, what did you think? What are your thoughts on Joe's portrayal in this film?
Think Coleman Domingo did a fantastic job and he should get nominated for everything and all the things. And he should win them based on what movies are out this year right now. So there's that. I think Coleman Domingo looked for nuance, and he's probably the only character who the nuance that he as an actor was able to like fight for is actually still left on film. I think Kendrick Sampson probably tried to give us that. Homeboy Keelan, who plays Bill Bray, I think he almost got there. But really, Coleman's character is the only one that was able to do that. Now, what I noticed about him portraying Joe is that he seemed to like grow throughout the movie. It seemed like he got bigger and more like the Grinch, like an overlord, like hanging over Michael, like
You're a mean
growing.
one.
And yes, like he seemed to grow in every scene, and you felt the pressure. There were two things I kept thinking about after the first viewing. One is the dichotomy of Michael being in constant confrontation with his daddy and refusing to move out of the house. I think we all knew that
It was
as
his damn house.
it was. Listen to me. Heard, right? Like, I have not thought about it from this point of view where he arguing with somebody down the hall, y'all. Like, regardless, like
Right. He
he's
fired
down.
somebody via fax and then went home.
Yeah, and so it's like when my wife and my stepdaughter would argue and they would do it by text, and one of them was upstairs and one of them was downstairs. That's Michael and Joe. You sending faxes, but you at the house. So I found
Girl, when he
that.
said, "I wanna frame this," I died.
Yes, he said, "I'm thinking about
And you know, at
framing
the end of
this."
the day, he was right because that's hella disrespectful, right? And
It
you know,
was.
you understand Michael was afraid, but even that fax, Michael, you could have sent in your own name. Like, you
Yes.
didn't even do that. You sent John to go do it, and he talking about as Michael's personal manager, you know, you're terminated. So, I mean, like, I think, but the way it was framed, it was not framed like, oh, Michael, this is messed up. It was
Yes.
framed like, good for you, Michael. You
Right.
fired your daddy via fax.
Hey, Michael, move out. Like, and
It's his house, Ashley.
I know, but still, you can get another house, you know?
He did
He
in
did,
'89
and
when he was
he
ready to
had to hide
go.
out, and then he went and got Neverland. And so there was that part, that the constant conflict of them being in the same house. I never really thought that long about it, but when he kept walking past that room, every time he walked past Joseph's room, that door swung open, and that is the theme of the movie.
Joe heard them feet coming,
Well,
baby. He knew when you was coming.
Yes.
We talked about it, like, we were reading Latoya's book for our summer reading series, so if you're not on our Patreon, please go join.
Get on the
But
Patreon.
Latoya talked about how nothing went on there in that house and Joe didn't know about it. Okay,
Correct.
like she said he would pick up the receiver of the phone and listen to your conversations. Like
Mhm.
he owned that was his domain, and
It
he
was
Like,
made
his
it very
like
clear.
Joe, like, Mister in his mailbox.
Yeah, that's
Well
right.
He done
well,
He
that's
fixed
noticed it
it.
been
that's
messed
how
He
with.
done fixed
I
it.
said I said to my wife, clearly Coleman Domingo playing Mister in Color Purple was his audition tape. That is how he got this role.
Same character.
I
'Cause
forgot
when he
about that. He
opened
did play
when
that
he
in the
opened
yeah.
when he opened that door and had that razor blade in his hand, I said, "Look at Mister."
He Coleman Domingo deserves all the award. He will be awarded for
He's got to get an Oscar
his
for this. There's
portrayal.
no way. And let me tell you why I know he's going to get an Oscar. If you look at the black men who have won Oscars, they all played villains. And pe-
Denzel in Training Day.
and white America wants Joe Jackson to go down in history as the worst father ever. So he's
Yeah, you're
going to
right.
win that award. Now, here's the other thing I'll mention, and I'll shut up. The only moment where they gave Joe a little bit of nuance was during that same scene. So Michael sends the fax. He goes home. He's upstairs playing Twister with his monkey. Decides he wants to go downstairs and get some ice cream. He meet Joe in the kitchen. Or maybe this might have been upstairs. But at some point, he and Joe are in conflict, and Joe says to him, "You want to go out in the world and get a bunch of yes men who say yes to you every time you want something.
That was
What
about that
kind
tour. That was
what
about that damn tour, the victory
Yes.
tour. He
That
didn't
was
want to
about
do.
the
And
tour.
Yeah.
he said, you want to go out there and hire a bunch of yes men who say yes to you every time you ask for something. How much sense does that make?" And that was the one moment they gave him like some fatherly credibility where he actually offered him some advice. Let's remember, when Michael was on his way out of this world, he was begging for his daddy to come and save him because that was the type of decision maker that he was. And I think that particular moment illuminated who Joe actually was, which was, you don't get to say yes or no every time. You are the star of the group, but I can't treat you that way because I have 8 other children. And regardless, he's the
Bunch of 'em.
superstar and the moneymaker. He's a daddy trying to be a daddy to multiple people. And so I wish we could have gotten under that hood where Joe transformed from somebody who was an adversary for Michael, somebody that Michael was afraid of, to somebody that Michael would look to when he was in trouble. Essentially, once he got surrounded by a bunch of white people who he felt like were eventually out of his control and were draining his bank accounts. And if there was a opportunity to give Joe a redemptive arc in later films or a longer film, I think that was like the one scene they gave him to open up that runway for any type of redemptive arc. Other than that, he's just a miserable father manager the whole film.
Yeah. And I would love to get into Miss Catherine and the inaccuracies there, but that's irrelevant. Um, actually, to the whole story, and it's not irrelevant, but there are some certain parts that didn't make sense. But we're not even gonna get into Catherine. Maybe we'll do that in our next video. I want to talk about two more things before we wrap this up because we are making time. We're doing good, y'all. So I first want to talk about Jafar's performance. And when I say performance, I mean what user 1.5 was saying, which is the actual performances, the dancing, the lip syncing to Michael's songs. Like I want to talk about all of that. What did you guys think about Jafar's performances? And did they choose correctly when they chose Jafar Jackson?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think they chose the right person.
yeah.
Agreed.
He's a 10 out of 10.
Nobody else could have done this the way Jafar did it.
He's a 10 out
Jafar
and,
killed it.
nobody's gonna say he didn't do a good job. You might not like the way he looked. Like, I have seen some of that, like, "Oh, I don't really think he looked like him," which, okay.
He
But
looked like
not
Jermaine in some of them scenes. I said, "Look at
Yeah.
Jermaine Jackson standing up
But
there
you
on
know
that
why
screen."
they
And
look
Victory, it looked like Jermaine in Michael's outfit
the
when
reason
he
he
first came out.
the reason he looked like these people because he related these people. So
that's
genetics
his daddy,
is
I
the
know.
why.
That's
So
his damn
so
daddy,
like
y'all.
so no one else could have done it because I was just telling my sister before we started this, Jafar was at a hell of a advantage, right? And I said he can't even call it an unfair one. He just has this advantage, not only being related, being able to immerse himself in a gaggle of people who knew this man very intimately and to prepare for this in the same house you grew up in that he also did. Like, everybody was at such a severe handicap if they were auditioning for this. There's no way. Like, because some of this is genetic. Some of what you really love about this is growing up with a certain group of people, having inherited certain looks, even like he was lanky like Michael. Like he was like he and this is because they all related. You know what I mean? He had that when he came on the screen for Off the Wall, you couldn't have told me.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like so, and that's so. I think he was. I don't think there was anybody else. I think he earned it. I think he did the work. So I
He
don't
did.
mean to say that like it was nepotism. I think he did the work. I think if he had all those things of looking like him and then it was really off, they would have chosen somebody else. But he really did the work to become his uncle. He deserves some praise. I hope he gets an Image Award, and I hope he gets all the awards that we can talk about as a performer. I know a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, he's just a good impersonator." Okay, I get it. I get that, but he the best one you seen.
He
You
is.
know what I'm saying? Like
I've seen a
he's the
few.
best impersonator that money can buy. You know what I mean? So I think Jafar is just kudos to him, and I can only imagine how much anxiety and fear he had to constantly overcome to portray such a big character and a person so much larger than life. A global character that is hard for someone who has no acting credits. So I think he
Yeah.
did a phenomenal job.
And I honestly still don't think he has any acting credits. I think he has performance credits at this point. The acting was the acting was whatever he got. I mean, it wasn't that deep, you know.
It wasn't.
The deepest scene was in the hospital with Nia Long. And
Mhm.
then I think user 1.5, you said to me, you were like, they needed somebody with her acting ability to draw that out of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh, that's true. So I still don't think we got no acting credits. I think we have performance credits, and he did a great job.
He
He
did,
did
and
so
I think
good.
they paired his acting scenes with such strong performers. Like his scenes with Coleman were like Ashley said, they were like palpable. And that's because Coleman was so you bought into that. Not to say Jafar didn't do a good job, but he could almost kind of sit back and put it on autopilot because the opposite of him is so strong. You just got to kind of
You just
show
gotta
up and
shrink.
say your lines,
Yeah,
right?
you gotta
Like
shrink down
yeah,
to give
he
him
didn't have
space
to
to work,
carry
yeah.
any acting scenes. He did not have to carry any acting scenes. He carried these performance scenes extremely well. I don't think anybody else could have done it.
Yeah. I will say what the, director and cameraman got made very clear is that Jafar looks like Michael Jackson throughout this film, and I think that is and always has been the number one concern for us in a post Flex Alexander world, that whoever played this role,
Love you, Flex.
um, your looks can't distract us because yes, Michael's looks were distracting in real life, but you can't distract us from everything else going on. And so the shots that they gave of that side profile, my God. One of the conversations I had with Kyla, friend of the pod, was that Jafar has the same teeth as Michael and how
Mhm.
he got them same Jackson
Yeah,
canines.
we like them good teeth, like Michael said, I just wanted to have good teeth.
Yeah,
Girl, I
I
just wanted to be healthy and have good teeth. Yeah,
Yeah,
he looked
yeah,
like that.
and he
yeah.
looked like
Again,
that.
which just talking about you can't. So again, to that point, you can't talk about this film and not talk about the Jackson family.
Yes.
Literally, the star of it is a Jackson family member. So, like again, trying to separate those things gets really difficult, and it should be because you can't really
No.
separate them, especially for the period in time of which they were going to cover in part one of allegedly two, maybe three, maybe four. You'll never get,
Yeah.
definitely won't get four parts,
No,
but
you're not
Well,
gonna
I
get
don't
4.
think you're even gonna get two.
let me say this other thing about Jafar, and I hope you receive your flowers, and the pressure of doing this, and even the pressure of even thinking about doing it a second time. I know it's got to be aggravating as hell. I know how I feel as we approach election day because that's where my Super Bowl is. I can't imagine how he's feeling about potentially doing this again. But Jafar had me feeling every bit of tension between him and Coleman Domingo. And Giuliano did this too, where I know my heart rate went up. Like I felt the claustrophobia of trying to move around Joe, and he's just bigger than life. And your brothers can't say anything to stop him. Your mother can't say anything to stop him. What sucks is the white savior narrative was consistent. The white people who show up in this film, which are the two white men in Epic, John Branca and Walter Yetnikoff, all show up as people who are trying to save Jafar from his family. So the first time it's, can y'all tell Joseph I'm doing my solo project? Yeah, let me take a drink. We can do that for you. Okay, can you fire Joseph? Sure. Okay, can you go bully all the people at MTV? Sure. Like they really made Michael seem like without Joe to push his business, he needed a white man to get that done. I ain't like that. But what I did feel was the pressure that Jafar felt anytime he had to share space or allude to the relationship with Michael and Joseph. Like I was squirming in my seat when they had the conversation about that tour and he ran out to get in the car and told Bill Bray, just drive.
Just
Like
drive anywhere. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
I
that
started weeping. I felt that for him.
I
Like,
mean,
God
I
damn,
think that,
can a
and I
nigga
think
make a plan without calling you?
right, and like
Well, he had been doing that. He didn't know he had to do it this
to
time.
sanitize the whole that whole contentious frame for Michael into it just being Joe pressuring him and forcing him is also historically inaccurate, but inaccurate to the story to really understand the level of pressure Michael felt because it
Right.
was the entire family. It was
And
not
Motown too, the
and yeah.
Motown
And
family.
it was his mom. And it was, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like so it wasn't
Yeah.
just Joe, and I think it's not like, "Oh, do you have," but no, there are big themes you are pushing here that you need to be most accurate about. And they didn't do that. But I'll say this to user two's point about the scene where he says, "You just want people to tell you yes." Even that scene, you lose the plot there because they sandwich it between Joe being unreasonable and forcing Michael to continue to do things he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
So
Right.
how you
Yeah.
have this tension where he's very wrong on one hand, but saying something very valuable on the other. And I feel, and let me be the editor, let me just run up in here real quick. We could have taken that same theme, maybe not put it in the same sort of scene and background. When he brought a chimpanzee to the house and didn't tell nobody nothing about it, that's probably a good time to say you just want people to go along with whatever it is you want to do and to tell you yes. Maybe something like that, because we made it a lighthearted, very, oh, he's got a monkey. People live here, y'all. Do you wanna live with a monkey?
Well, he
If
already had a damn llama and some other shit going on. A snake.
outside, and you
Okay.
know, based on everything we know about Michael and that monkey, Miss Catherine did not want no monkey.
Well, they said he
She
was at
was
the table eating
very
with them for
clear.
dinner, so I don't
They
know.
came to love him, but they didn't want no
Okay.
monkey in that house. But I mean, like, if you wanted to talk about Michael being surrounded by yes men, which is a part of what leads to his demise when he's not accountable to this family structure anymore. If you wanted to do that, that wasn't the scene to do that in, to me. I think there's somewhere else you need to try and draw that out, but it's not in this moment when Joe is bullying his kid to do something he don't want to do. Because then we miss that through line of the other thing you're also trying to say. It feels just disjointed. Like that doesn't really go together there. And
Yeah.
again, we of course know way more than the average person probably going to the movies to watch that. So we're being critical in a way that is from that lens, but it just didn't make it didn't make no sense.
Yeah, and I will say because I want to get to the last point, and then we're gonna wrap this up. But I will say on our Patreon, we are gonna go over the scenes that were derived from John Branca's mind. I think we should do a whole episode on what the fuck John Branca put in this film because there were a
John
lot of
Branca.
films that I mean, a lot of scenes where I was like, John made all of this up. None of this happened the way he said it
I
did.
have one more thing because I know you said you had one more. I'm gonna let you finish. Can you please bring up just very briefly? I want to say just hit it and quit it on the James Brown story and the Michael Jackson biopic. I just want to hit it. Just 30 seconds. Go ahead. Let's
Go
get
ahead,
serious.
you done said it now. Go ahead.
30 seconds and let's get serious. So that was one of my comparison points. Michael's biggest influence, which he did make the screen in this movie. So shout out to the James Brown estate that said go and put him in there. He makes Michael James Brown, a big influence on Michael Jackson, has his own biopic with Chadwick Boseman, rest his soul, playing James Brown. Totally different films, totally different things. And I just want to hear, just like I say, hit it and quit it, what you guys think about that. Those two films, two very huge Black entertainers in American history and world history, and how they were portrayed when it came down to their biographies and film. What do you guys think?
I think I've thought about this long enough to have a comprehensive, like, thoughts on it. What I will say is this, um, James Brown has always been very honest about his struggles. I mean, publicly. He's always been very honest about it, and he never pretended to be anything other than who he was. And so I think it was probably easier for his filmmakers and his estate to make a film where you do include a lot of these things that aren't so favorable to him as a person, but you understand like where he came from, how he got there. We know that he was in jail. We know that that's how he met, Bobby Bird. He stayed at his house. He paroled it. Like we know all of this. And anyway, James Brown told us this with his own mouth. Michael was so elusive, and he didn't tell much of his story. Even his little autobiography, his Moonwalk, was trash, right? He didn't really tell us. He didn't like to tell us anything. And when he did say stuff, it was him complaining about stuff. I can't go nowhere without everything. I can't. Like it was always something that he complained about. When he finally got to a point where nobody say nothing about that. If you took all the people out of Hollywood that had plastic surgery, nobody be left. Like it was all. That's when he would tell us little bits of things because he was
Yeah.
aggravated.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they were ever going to be the same kind of a biopic because Michael was not honest and his estate is not honest.
1,000%. I'm going +1 on that. I love the James Brown biopic. I think that movie suffers from a lot of the same issues. I think Chadwick Boseman was Chadwick Boseman, so he squeezed everything he could out of that script too. But we didn't even get into how complex and the amount of crimes James Brown committed in that film. The worst we got was him beating Jill Scott's character,
And
who
he
was
did.
a
Yeah.
mesh of multiple wives. Like,
Yeah.
he had multiple wives. We skipped him beating the brakes off of Tammy Terrell. Like,
We ain't
there
got to
were
show him beating every woman, Ashley. We can't do that.
that's what I'm saying. They made a
One
composite, right?
ass woman is good. One ass whooping is good enough. We got it.
Well, that's what the white man said. Uh, we got it. So I just say that to all the people who are like, and you can think about the Elvis biopic too. Like, they glance over the fact that Elvis is going to Priscilla's 14-year-old bedroom by himself every day
As a
for weeks.
24-year-old.
It's in the movie, and it is clear she's 14, he's 24.
Yep.
They don't explore any of that, right? And so to the people, and what I'm noticing right now on social media, and it could just be because I'm on X still and I need to get up off of Elon's app, but white people's complaints are frustrating as fuck to me. I had a whole argument with people about how Bubbles being abused was glossed over in the film. And my feedback to that was, in a world where we focused on Black artists, not just Michael, the brothers, others who were moving around them, you're most offended about the monkey? Like, and animal abuse is important, but that's what you took away? That Bubbles shouldn't have been in the house? Like,
We didn't talk about how hard this was as Black people to do this and the racism they felt from moving from Gary to Encino. We didn't
That
talk
part.
about that. We didn't
Well,
talk about the
this was
things
a
they
very
like. So that's disingenuous again. And
all of
also,
this
like, the monkey cannot be more important than the people. At
It
the end
and
of the
all of
day.
cannot.
this is soft serve. This is soft serve ice cream, baby. Okay? That's what we got. We got soft serve on a waffle cone.
Yeah.
Okay?
And
And
I
that's what
like
they
soft
wanted us to
serve,
have.
but I didn't
And
want it
it's
for this.
fine, but
Yeah.
soft
Loved it.
serve
I
melts
had a
real
blast.
fast, don't it? It melts real fast. You know what I'm
It's
saying? You
a-
gotta eat it quick.
it's a good, like, I don't think it's a good story. It's a good movie from
It's
a
a good
performance
movie.
perspective, but it is not a good
That's what it is.
story for Michael's life. But yeah, no,
Right.
I think, yeah, like, people being disingenuous about what was and wasn't there. If you focus on what just was there, there's a lot wrong with that. Like, I think about the Ray Charles movie. You think about these other stories that have been told about Black entertainers, and boy, oh boy, look at Frankie Lyman. Look at the depth of these stories, and we love these. These are like classics for
Yeah.
us, right? And so there was a
Think
lot
about
missed
Leon
there.
playing Little Richard.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things. Let me ask y'all this. Do you, after this comes out on DVD and stream and video cassette tape, do you play this back? Like, do you pop this on at
No.
Christmas or at
No.
Thanksgiving? Does it form
I
Yeah,
won't.
for the boomers, yes.
I won't. I won't. You know what I'm gonna put on? I'm gonna put that terrible deaf victory tour. That's what the fuck I would put on.
I
I'm
have
not
been
putting
watching
this
that
Well,
all
on.
listen,
week.
it's competing with the Wiz for us at Thanksgiving. So
And
does
then
it beat
it's
the
certainly not
Wiz?
going on
Does
over the
it beat
Wiz.
them? Like,
Don't do
yeah,
that.
no, it don't
Don't
do
do
It's
that.
not going on
It
over
don't.
Jackson's An American
No,
Dream.
no, it's not going over that neither.
No, it's
No.
not. This is what
So
I want.
who gets replaced? So we watch this. The Temptations?
Nobody.
No,
Nobody.
it doesn't
Because then
make
we
it
got to
that.
put the Temptations on. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
nobody.
no.
Not
This is what I'm
nobody.
gonna say.
Nobody.
This film is not really for us. This film
Agreed.
is for our nieces and nephews and the generations after, because we lived through it. So again, the parts where the timeline doesn't make sense, we are supposed to suspend our disbelief. And that, I'm a human, so why would I do that? I was there, nigga. No, I'm not doing that. So this film, the movie, is not for us. The movie is for Michael's place in history and cinema to be locked in. So when I rate this movie, I give it 3.5 out of 5 because of as a movie. as a Michael Jackson fan and the story we could have told, that's about a 1. But if we're just talking about an entertaining piece of something I can put on when my nieces and nephews are on their tablets and
It's
I'm
kid
trying to wind
friendly.
them down, get in the
It's kid
bathtub,
friendly.
get in the
Yeah.
bed, absolutely.
Girl, put the Victory Tour on. Don't even
Right,
put this
Do
and
back
that. I
yet.
do
Don't
that
even pull it
too.
up.
I'll
Don't
even
even pull
say
it
this,
up.
I don't think it's just like, "Oh, it's for Gen Z," because I wrote my little 5-second review on Facebook, and it was mostly X and boomer.
Mhm.
It is
Yeah.
for people who have a general love and like, our oldest sister, who is 8, she was talking about how she works with kids, and one of the kids was like, "Do you know who Michael Jackson is?" And she was like, "'Cause they just made a movie about him that's coming out." And our sister was like, yeah." Now, mind you, she's 48, so of course she's like, "Yeah, I know who he is, I know the music." She's like, "Well, I wanna go see that movie." So you have kids. Then I had cousins who are in their 50s going, "I'm going to see it." You have boomers like, User 1.5's clients who said, "This is our bag." So it is
Yeah.
for a general public fan of Michael Jackson's
Yes.
music.
Yes.
If you are someone who's big into storytelling through movie, if you are someone who's big into some sort of accuracy of depiction for famous people and artists, and if you're probably a Michael fan who wanted him not to be just reduced to a singing, dancing monkey, then this ain't gonna cut it. You know what I mean? But if you just want to go, and I said this too, the world we live in, people deserve to just be happy for a little bit. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So if you just wanna go and smile and tap your feet and have a good experience and remember this music and how you felt when you first heard it, or where you were when this and that happened, or how this impacted you, it is that works. It works for that.
Yeah.
But it
And I will
reduces Michael to something that I don't think is fair to him, and I think that some of what his family that didn't participate, what they were saying through their silence and refusal to participate.
And I think, like, I had and this was actually not my last this is my next to last question, but y'all done answered it, so I ain't gotta ask y'all no more. What I will say is I had a client that yesterday, she's in her, like, late 50s, early 60s. She was talking about this film. I had my Wiz shirt on, and she was like, "Oh, I love that movie." And I said, "Oh, yeah, well, I went to see the Michael film, da 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 da." And, she said, "You know, the critics" and this is just a casual fan. She said, "The critics, what they write" she said, "I've seen what they've written about the movie, but they're not writing for us." She
Come
said,
on
"They
now.
are writing for themselves or for their own purposes." She said exactly what you say, User One. She said, "In the world that we live in now, people just wanna go and have a good time." She
Yeah.
said, "And so I'm gonna go see it because I love the music, and I just wanna hear the music." So I definitely think, like, as far as accuracy, depth of character, etcetera, this is like out of 10, it's like a 4, okay?
Yeah.
But as far as just feel good, it's a 10 out of 10 because every time Jafar got up there to do a scene, to recreate a scene, I got hype. I'm not gonna lie.
And
I
the
was like,
theater
"Oh my
got hype.
god, this is
Yeah.
really good."
Yeah.
Like, the Thriller scene was fantastic. The,
Yeah.
Don't Stop Till You Get Enough video
I love
recreation was
that. That was my
fantastic.
favorite one because it's my
Like,
favorite song.
and
Yeah.
that's gonna drive me into the last point, and then we gonna get out y'all's way, okay? We ended this film where we began this film, which is Michael Jackson, Bad Tour, 1988 Wembley Stadium, okay? And we get to see Michael go out there on stage for his first solo tour, for his first true solo tour. And he is performing the bad single. He's actually performing Bad. Um, Users, what did you think about this ending? And do you think I've heard online, everybody locking ass that we didn't end on Man in the Mirror. And I do believe we shot Man in the Mirror because I remember seeing some scenes from the leaked photos. So I do think we shot Man in the Mirror, but we did not end on Man in the Mirror, which is what Michael ended his tours with, right? He ended
Right.
his tours with Man in the Mirror. So what do you think about us ending on Bad? And what did you think about the ending in general?
I love the ending. The way that they do accurately portray Michael announcing that the tour was over while on the tour was beautiful. Now they summarized how that
Oh,
happened,
you mean the
but
Victory Tour?
the victory tour,
Victory, okay.
yes. And then I think then walking him into Bad um shows the transition of like who he was trying to become, and he ultimately became that once he got his space to do it. But what we do is we're eliminating a lot of storyline, and so my hope is if y'all are doing a part 2, you fast forwarded to Bad, but that doesn't mean we're just gonna pop out on the tour in the second one. Like there's some conversation that needs to be had after he runs off the stage in Victory before he walks into the process of Bad. His skin color had changed. You know, there was a
Oh, the whole
whole
new dude.
that was
Yeah.
a whole different person. But what I will say is the way that they chose to end it as far as cinema is concerned felt awesome. It was almost ending on a climax, and I think they chose Bad because Bad is a fast-paced song, it has high energy, and it keeps you engaged. It's like a heart-racing moment all the way till the end. If we had done Man in the Mirror, it would have ended on a Michael Jackson note, to be honest. It would have been very mushy.
And we shouldn't
Um,
end the Michael Jackson film
we
on the Michael Jackson
well,
note.
listen, we should, but, you know, that's if John Branca's not involved, you know? But the fact that this is a manufactured work of art, designed for film, designed to you know, translate on a screen, I understand why they did it the way that they did it. So I actually did really like the ending. It is my favorite part of the movie. But they are missing some storyline there, as far as, like, the arc and what they could have done. But I enjoyed the pace. Excuse me. I enjoyed the pace of how they ended it. It felt good and it felt high energy, and I liked walking out of the theater like that.
Yeah, I think if anything made me think, "Oh, there may be a part 2," it's because of that ending. It ends in a way to give you something more, but I don't think they're gonna give it to you. I think it's a gotcha. I think it's an illusion. I don't think you're getting a part 2. I really don't think I don't think the numbers and the sales have anything to do with it. I think it has everything to do with what the content of part 2 must contain, and you're not gonna get it. So, I think that but I thought it ended well. I do think that ending on Bad was a good choice. It kept like you said, kept it upbeat, and had people going out of the theaters like amped. So I think that that was a good choice. Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, that like there's no discussion about like it just jumps. So you go from like a light
That's the
skinned
pacing, right?
Jafar
Yeah.
to light skin Jafar. A lot of heavy cream now in the complexion. We're
Not the
getting
heavy
lighter and
cream.
lighter and lighter.
And they did touch on the vitiligo in the film.
They hit it and quit it,
They
baby.
touched
They
on
hit it
that.
and quit it. Yeah, they hit it and quit.
But
They,
but to be fair, it hadn't hit him yet. So this
yeah.
next part
That's where you were. Well, it starts to hit him after Thriller. That's what he said. Somewhere between Thriller and Bad. That's what he said. It
Mhm.
got started to get worse, and we saw that right in real
Right.
time because by the time you get to 86,
He's yellow.
right, and like and now
That's a mulatto
the
boy.
media is eating him alive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so yeah, there's a lot there, and but I mean, Man in the Mirror would have been nice. If they've really shot like 5 hours of footage, then they gonna use it. If they do something else, they'll find a way. Because Jafar does so, they're gonna get so much great feedback about him. Everything they got of him doing this guy's performances is likely gonna see daylight. If anything else sees daylight.
Yeah, and I really hope so I just wanna back up a little bit, that I do like how they had, the Jacksons performing Working Day and Night as Michael was looking over at Joe and the Wings. "See, you got me working day and night."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I see what y'all did there." And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
also where, Prince made a cameo in that, like, little scene
Yeah, I
for
saw
the
that.
Victory
He
tour.
did. And can
Um,
I add a piece there for you, friend? If
yeah,
the scene right before when he and Catherine are eating that ice cream on the couch, the movie they're watching was Charlie Chaplin working in a factory and
yeah,
being overwhelmed, and then they transition to that
into
scene. So
yeah.
I think they tried to build that. Yeah.
They were yeah, I just noticed it was the second time around, I was like, "Not working day and night," and he looking Joe in the eyes,
Mhm.
but, I like that they used Bad. I think the Bad tour that we all he didn't do Bad for the entire tour. He did Bad, what, the second leg of the tour? And so I
Oh, I
do like that
forgot
they
that.
used Bad as the song from that tour. I wish they would have included Man in the Mirror maybe on the backside, maybe not a
Yeah.
performance of it, but just using it to play the first bit of the, credits out or something. I really wish they would have because that was Michael's, "I'm finna lead a stage song," and I can appreciate that. Like, you knew the show was over when you heard "do, do, 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 do,
Didn't
do,"
he take
you
off
know
on
what I
that
mean?
rocket? Didn't he take off on the rocket for
Girl,
Man in the Mirror?
When he put his spacesuit helmet on, yes, he did.
Didn't he take off on that
Like,
rocket?
With
I
the
just wish
choir
they
in the
would have
background.
Oh,
included
yeah.
that, but I do love I mean, like, there were so many great performances. His,
Yeah.
Motown 25 performance was beautiful. I don't love that they didn't reference the Jacksons. Like, you saw them backstage in their outfits, but we don't reference the Jacksons and their Motown so I mean, I don't know. There are a lot of things that I wish, like, if I had my way, Okay, I coulda done it a different way, but they didn't ask me nothing.
Yeah.
And they
But
didn't
I
ask
think that
none of us. They didn't ask Paris either.
they
They
and
told
Paris
us.
said, "Y'all go see it if you want to." But I think that overall, this was the safest option for the estate. They made a movie that lacked, and some people, I've heard people who actually believe the lies in this. They were like, "Oh, I didn't know that such and such and such," and I'm like, "That's not true."
No.
So that's the risk you run when you take creative license and you make shit up or you leave
Yeah.
stuff out. There's no context to it. So, I mean, I wish that they had been slightly more honest. But if I'm gonna be honest, and I think I said this to both of y'all, we could have taken Jackson's American 5, put it in 4K, threw that up, I would have gone. Or we could
Absolutely
have
would
taken
have.
the Victory Tour, made that 4K like we've been asking for years,
They
John.
won't do it. They're not gonna do
And
it.
put that up there. Can you imagine hearing Jackson's in America? I mean, hearing the Victory Tour, seeing it in IMAX and hearing it in the speakers.
They say
That
you
would have
can
been
get
great.
Jafar in 4K. Shut up.
And that's it.
And
And
that's
let
it.
me say this, I'm not buying no merch with Jafar on it.
No offense, Jafar. Nah, I don't.
What
Why?
is
I don't
y'all
want
talking
that.
about?
I don't want that. I don't want
Well,
that. Yeah, I don't know what the sales numbers looking
John
like,
thought y'all
but
wanted
they
it, so
also
I don't
got
know what
them
to tell you.
$30 socks over there. So I mean, listen,
Well, they
they have
ran
some
out of the
stuff.
merch. It ran out very quickly. It ran out in hours here. So y'all went out and bought that ugly stuff. And I was gonna buy it too, but y'all beat us to the punch. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think if you want something that makes you feel good, that makes you remember why everybody on planet Earth knows who Michael Jackson is. He's probably the only human in the last however many years that you can say every person on planet Earth knows who that is. If you want that experience, this is definitely it. If you want, like I said, a little bit more here and there, or you look at movies as storytelling vehicles, it did tell a story. I'm not gonna say it didn't, but it just wasn't complete. Or it wasn't as accurate. I think Paris had some points. And if you want a movie where only one of three children show up for the
Mm,
premiere, and the biggest famous family member has admittedly no involvement, politely declined.
mhm.
So much controversy always in the world of Michael
Latoya looked
Jackson.
great
This
though.
is
I
it.
just want to say,
Latoya looked
Latoya
great.
looked
What
fantastic.
they all looked really good. I'm glad that Miss Catherine was there. She didn't do the carpet, but she was there. Jackie was there. Marlon was there. Randy wasn't there.
Jermaine had
Riri
another nice
wasn't
suit on.
there. Janet, but Jermaine was there with all
Yep.
his churn. I think all his
Yeah.
churn
Alejandra was there with her with Your
with all
Majesty,
her
and it was a
children.
lot. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a family affair.
And
Taj
I
was there
love
in his
that. I
baseball
love
hat.
that. I love that.
Yeah.
Listen, we've got to see a black family take the biggest stage in the world and be talked about all over the world for their contributions to the world. And in that moment, I am hella proud. And I'm glad they got to have this moment of they've dealt with a lot with
Yeah.
Michael in the past 5, 6 years. And to have this moment, honestly, it's deserved because they have been forced to answer for things that they won't there. They not him, but they are required to uphold that, reality and deal with it. I think about Taj and all that he's done. So to
Yeah.
have that moment where y'all are just out here and people are loving on this guy, people showing up at the theaters dressed like him, whole family showing up, you little Michael, you off the wall Michael, you know what I mean? Like that's beautiful. There's a lot to be celebrated here, and I think fairly there's a lot to kind of have pause and critique of.
Yeah, and I just, Ashley, I'm gonna give you the last word here, but I would like to say, I think that if you want to be reminded why you love Michael's music, go to see this movie. I mean, every performance, even the background music were like chords of the songs, and you immediately recognize the chords because they're so ingrained in you at this point that you know exactly what song that is without hearing anything but the chords to the songs. You know what I mean? So if you just want a little bit of nostalgia, and like my client said, in a world like what we live in now, that's
Yeah.
being taken over by psychopathic old men and dictators, it just makes you feel good to sit and to listen to Michael's music, and in a theater full of people who are also enjoying the same experience. That's why I like going to like y'all know I'm a big pro wrestling fan. Every time like we go to a wrestling show, don't matter if you like it or not, you're gonna join in this crazy stuff because everybody's enjoying the same thing at the same time. And how many times in life does that happen? So I just think that you should definitely go see it. I've told everybody that's asked me about it, go see it. It's worth going to see. Now, I'm not putting it on at Thanksgiving. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, we've got other options that are much better. Okay, but
What about Juneteenth? Can we, like, if we have like a Juneteenth?
oh my
Yeah.
God, do we have a
Okay.
lesser holiday?
I'm trying
What's
to
under
think.
Juneteenth?
Ugh,
July
This.
4th. July 4th.
Now
no,
look,
We'll put it on for the 4th.
Nikki's been to parties at my house. I usually have a DJ or music playing, and then I'll either turn the fish on the TV or I'll just put something on mute to play in the background. Why
that's
can't
something to
Jafar
put.
play in the background?
Correct. That absolutely. He's good background
On mute
material.
in the background.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it adds to the ambiance. It's a valuable
Okay.
contribution, but yeah, you're not like, oh, y'all, let's gather around. We
No,
about
no,
to
no.
watch
We don't
Michael
have
the
to.
movie. You know, it might be at this Christmas's because
Yes.
everybody ain't seen it yet. Your
Yeah.
uncles and them that don't go to the movies ain't seen it yet, but they want to see it. They want to see it. It's
My
gonna
daddy said he want to come on the podcast after he see the movie so we can ask a Gen Xer how he feels.
how he feels about it. Yeah, that I mean, it's gonna make it through 26, but you're not putting it on.
It's not
Well,
taking
no,
the
because
place
it's
of the
another one coming
Temptations.
out,
I'm
Nikki.
sorry.
So there's going to be another one in 2028. So you're going to have to get
No,
over.
there's
Don't
not,
trigger me.
Ashley. No,
Okay.
there's not,
We've
baby.
already bet $50.
You gonna
just so
lose
everyone on the
$50 more
You're gonna lose your
dollars.
fifth. You're gonna lose.
You
You
gonna
ready?
lose
You
$50
cold
more
ready to lose
I
something,
dollars.
might
ain't
be
you?
doubling down. I don't care. My final thoughts on the film. Exactly what user 1.5 said. If you hate everything, the music endures. I recommend the IMAX speakers because those were great. I did the
Yeah.
Dolby Digital. They weren't booming as much as the IMAX speakers were. So for fans who just miss listening to Michael's music at a very loud volume, because we're not going to get a tour, go to see it for that reason. Paris, I hear you. I feel you. I'm on your side. I posted this on the internet and tagged her because I've been dragging Paris on the internet for a while because she was moving like a white supremacist. But I understand where she's coming from on this film. And what I just want to say on the record is, Paris, at some point, you're going to get this film back. John Branca is going to die one day because everybody does. And the estate will inherit this film.
Listen, she's the only one with real acting credits prior to this thing being a thing.
And that's a fact.
And the fact that she said, and so now she's acting credits and she's read plenty of scripts and she's his kid. For her to say, I read the script, I sent back notes, they disregarded them all. I don't fault her. How much you want me to just be disrespected here? I got more experience than y'all. I have more, and if you're an actor.
Lived with him.
I agreed. 100%. Paris, girl, we got it. And you're right.
Yeah, you're right, Paris. We got your back. Shout out to Prince for just saying, you know what? Y'all talking about my daddy. I'm going to be here to see what y'all say about my daddy. Because I'm sure there were some things he had to say, absolutely not. You're not going to do that. And Jaafar, too. So
you think Prince got that dog in him, or Jaafar got that dog in him to say we not doing that?
I don't know about Jaafar, but I remember when Prince went live on Instagram after Joseph died and said, y'all got all this criticism for my granddaddy, but you don't have that much talent in one of your nuts, let alone two.
He said that to the Peanut Gallery. He gonna say that to John and John.
I don't think he is going to say that to John and John. But I think
But to us people, regular degulas in the media, yeah, the Peanut Gallery, yeah, he gonna say that.
Yeah,
I say it with his full chest.
I think he probably has some influence in the room as much as he was allowed to have, right? And so
allowed to have.
You think he barked at anybody about scenes and what's gonna be and what ain't gonna be?
He don't seem like he would do that, because if he had, I don't think they would have let him in the room. I think that's what we're learning, right? Like, if you have any criticism of them that's too intense, they're gonna take away your access to the Michael Jackson estate.
They're gonna take the son's access away.
Yeah,
from the son's
you
estate.
asking these. Listen, she going on a lawyer road. Don't go down this road with her because she gonna drag you down to hell.
No, I'm just saying.
I feel like that's what they're doing to them, and I'm not saying that's right. It just feels like that's how.
with
treat
his
this
involvement, with this film, I think he wanted to be involved. And I think that he does not have that dog in him to say, hold on a second, because grandma and them said that that's not quite it. Or maybe, like, how can you have one sibling so like yes and one so like no? Like, I think that's something like I'm still trying to understand. Somebody wrong here.
I'm going to tell you.
Or somebody partially wrong or something.
I think Prince goes along to get along. Don't rock the boat.
I think he does.
And I think Paris is like, this money mine anyway, so I don't give a fuck.
She a firecracker. She a firecracker, as they say.
And I will the entitlement of a white woman.
And I would like to say, because she is,
Why you keep bringing that up, Ashley?
That Prince, this Prince here, Purple Rain Prince, he didn't have to catch no strays in this film. It wasn't even necessary to bring that man name up not one time.
Skip her up one good time.
They didn't need to bring him up not once. It was completely unnecessary.
But it was
And
funny,
so
though. It was funny.
And it was again one of those stories that everybody has probably heard, right? That Michael allegedly said, or that Mike like that there was beef there between those two. I thought it was a fun moment to bring up.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
Me too. That was really funny.
So that is our analysis, our general analysis of the film. We are going to do some more videos over on Patreon to talk about some of the other more nuanced things with the film. But what I will say again, if you have not seen this film and you watch this whole video, then hell, you probably don't need to see it at this point. 'Cause we done told you what happened. But
Or you might be like me and you love a spoiler and
yeah,
you wanna know
you
before
might
you
just want
go.
to know what's gonna happen. I don't know. Maybe that brings your anxiety down. I don't know. But if you've seen this film, if you agree with us, disagree with us, love us, hate us, we don't care. Drop it in the comments and let us know what you thought of the Michael Jackson biopic. I wish that I had some music right so we could end this with Man in the Mirror the way it should have been ended in the film. But
Mhm.
instead, we're just gonna
Don't
bid you
no, no,
adieu.
no. Don't worry. I'm gonna do the audio edit and you're gonna get your song.
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead, do your send off. Go ahead.
don't get us sued. Anyway, join us over on our Patreon. Just search the Black Jackson Estate Podcast. You can also follow us on all of our socials. We are over on X still at BLK Jack Estate, but we don't give Elon money, so we don't have a check, just so
We
you know.
don't.
We
Y'all
are
don't even be
over on
posting.
huh?
You talking about a check? You don't even post. My
Go in
bad.
there. Imma go in there for y'all.
We're not
I
giving him
love
no
Go
check.
going
in
in
there.
there.
We also are over on Blue Sky at BLK Jack Estate, on Instagram at BLK Jack Estate. Give us a like, give us a follow, or join your favorite user on their own personal page. You can find all that on our socials. I ain't going through all that with y'all. Join us on Patreon, and we will see you guys next time on the next episode of the Black Jackson Estate Podcast. Bye.
Bye.